Coming up on Smart Tech today, Matthew Casanelli is back, and we've got a lot to talk about. We start by hitting the headlines for Google, including improved Spanish support for its Nest Hub and Nest Hub Max. The Google TV finally adding a mobile remote option, for your phones. Amazon's new Kindle Paperwhite for kids, plus its new Kindles that it announced. And we're getting prepared for the Echo event that's coming up very soon. It comes on September 28th. Plus, Home Assistant getting a Hoobs-style plug-in, and so much more. Stay tuned for Smart Tech Today.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Smart Tech Today is brought to you by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with code TWIT75. This is a limited time offer. Welcome to Smart Tech Today, where we explain the exciting, dynamic, and, sometimes confusing subject that is the Internet of Things. I am one of your hosts, Micah Sargent.
And I am your other host, Matthew Casanelli. It's good to be back.
Hello, it's good to have you back. Yeah, for some reason, some people think my name is Micah Sar or something like that, Micah Sar, and then my last name is Gent. I've heard that from, I think, like 3 people over the course of my saying my name out loud to people. So
sounds like a Pokemon. Micah Sar.
Micah Sar. Mike. I guess
Bulbasaur, Micah.
Yeah,
Micah.
Okay, now I'm uncomfortable, and we should talk about smart tech stuff. And the first thing on the list today are some improvements, some quick thoughts or quick hits with Google, and I think this one's great. In the US, the Nest Hub and Nest Hub Max have gotten some improvements for Spanish language. That means that folks who speak Spanish will be able to use the Nest Hub and Nest Hub Max even better when communicating with it, which makes sense given the number of folks who speak Spanish here in the US.
Yeah, this is awesome. And there's a new bilingual voice to go along with it that has basically proper pronunciation or authentic Spanish-speaking accents, which is cool too. And they said the best way to test it is by asking your thing, what happened today in Latino history? And so it'll kind of use that voice to do that. So pretty cool. I think this makes a lot of sense, and just simple support, especially for like any bilingual households, especially. I think that makes sense.
This next one is really funny because I see people make this mistake all the time. Instead of positioning themselves across from so that they are looking toward a sunny window, they will put a sunny window behind them and take photos. And in this case, this is with Google Meet. People who are, in a conference room and have positioned themselves, unfortunately, in front of a sunny window. Google Meet is getting a little bit better. It's using some, machine learning AI magic to improve upon the video in your Google Meet call. So you'll be able to sort of adjust underexposure of an image, given that the camera in the past would adjust exposure based on it thinking that you are overexposed. So this way, it doesn't make the photo super dark and will sort of give back your exposure to your face and the rest of your body that's on camera, which I think is a great change. And I'd love to see this come to like photographs in general for smartphone cameras, where it's like, oh, this is noob mode, where you are taking a photo in front of a window instead of having that window bleed light in on you.
Yeah, especially if it could warn you while you're taking the picture. It's like, hey,
yes,
you have the framing or the exposure wrong. But yeah, this is pretty nice. Especially, the little graphic in the article just shows half the meeting boxes in a Google Meet call too dark, and then the other half like properly exposed. And it's just like, let's just level those all out automatically. So pretty solid feature.
Very good. Google Maps can adjust Android Auto's UI for right-hand drive. This is actually, I don't know what this means. Right-hand drive? Is this like cars that drive on the other side?
Yeah, I think it's mostly international users, but basically like, I was like, I don't know actually which countries do this, but it's basically just like everything was designed for the US centric type of car. And so if your steering wheel is on the right side and you're in a different country, Android Auto will show the controls closest to the steering wheel, not just on the wrong side, like furthest away from you. So I thought it was kind of just an interesting story that is like somebody out there is like, wow, this drives me crazy all the time. And now it's like, oh, we actually got out of our US centric view for once. So that's
nice. Cool. International, baby. Driving on the other side of the road. Is it the right side? Is it the wrong side? Fahrenheit or Celsius? Ooh, let's argue. Anyway, Google TV has finally given its users the ability to use a remote that is built into their Android phones. So we Apple TV users are pretty used to this technology. We've got a built-in Apple TV remote and control center on iOS. And it's a very handy feature where sometimes that remote is just a little bit out of reach. And so you just don't really feel like getting up to grab it. And so then I can just swipe down on my phone and open up the Apple TV system there and use it. So now if you've got a Google TV and you either can't find the remote or again, you don't feel like going and reaching for it, this can help with that.
Yeah. And I assume this means Google TV, like the platform too. So not just, okay, actually it'll extend to Android tvOS. So that's good too. It's like pretty much this is a feature that every smartphone and every smart TV should have together to be able to just type on your phone and use that on-screen keyboard instead of poking around with that remote. I had this for a while too with Netflix, where every single time we signed in, it for some reason would ask us for our password every single time. It would like log us out. It got really annoying. And at least with I don't know about this one, they didn't mention anything of it, but having the integrated password tool meant that I could also just tap the word Netflix and it would put in my password into the remote and then on the TV right away. So that is such a good feature. Like I hope Google TV gets it too, because that is just so smooth. and when literally every single time you use Netflix for like 3 months, that gets really old really fast. And my girlfriend was like getting pretty sick of it. And then just one day it just randomly stopped happening. So that's great. But it's like, what was going on then?
Yeah, those were not the days. Those were definitely not the good times. Then this one I'm really excited about. So I've talked before about the importance of understanding or being aware of kind of what's happening while you're asleep, more so than just straight up sleep tracking, but also oxygen level and snoring in particular, or other sounds that you might be making. Because those could be signs of something called sleep apnea, which is a very important, if you do have sleep apnea, it's a very important diagnosis to have happen, because you're quite literally just destroying your body every night. If you have sleep apnea and you leave it undiagnosed, or you don't do what you can to mitigate the effects of sleep apnea, it will reduce. There is no other way to put it other than to say it will reduce your lifespan. That's just how it works. There are so many different impacts that it can have on the body, including reshaping your heart muscle due to the change in pressure that takes place inside of your chest with sleep apnea. And so it causes your heart muscle to have to work harder on one side than it does on the other, which can then cause your heart to beat out of pace. And I mean, there's just so much that can go wrong with sleep apnea. Meanwhile, you are cutting off a supply of oxygen to your brain and to the rest of your body every single night, which then causes your brain to pump adrenaline into your body to wake you up in order to start to breathe again. And so then your body is getting constant hits of adrenaline as well over the course of the night, which is horrible for your sleep cycle, which we know if you don't get the sleep that you need to get, then you're not having restorative sleep. And constantly taxing your body with adrenaline is also terrible for your body because it causes your heart to race. It causes everything in your body to sort of become alert. It's just very, very bad. And so if you have even an inkling that you might have, and then so I should point out that some people die from sleep apnea as well. They just simply die because of a lack of hypoxia. Yeah. So anyway, it's incredibly important, and that is why I'm happy to hear that Fitbit, which is a really good device for sleep tracking in particular, given its longer battery life than some of the other devices out there, are adding snore and noise detection overnight so that you will be able to, when you are tracking your sleep, get some information about your snoring and if there are other noises that you're making, which you can then take to your doctor and say, hey, I've got all this going on and I've got, they'll go through the other list of symptoms that are kind of a marker for if you have sleep apnea, and then you can get that test done. A lot of times these days you can, these are take-home tests. It used to be that you had to go into a sleep lab. In many cases now you can take home a little machine that looks at your blood oxygen level overnight and also your movement and all that kind of stuff. So if you needed sort of the evidence to make sure that you can advocate for yourself with your doctor, I think this is a great opportunity for that. So I'm glad to see that that's coming to Fitbit, which is, secondarily the most popular fitness tracker.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was interesting because I don't think I even really processed it until I reread the article the first time that you're wearing the watch as it's tracking this, because I've always had this kind of thing with Sleep Cycle. And they mentioned that Samsung's feature actually works with that brand particularly, but just like it's on your wrist and tracking it. And then the other thing I noticed too, that this article from Gizmodo was based off the one from 9 to 5 Google. And they were kind of there's an update in that one where they talked about just using it for a few days. And they were basically like, it does drain a quarter of your battery. And so wearing it every night kind of seems too much, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having a smartwatch that you don't need to charge that much if you're going to just drain it every single night. And so like pretty much to every other night you'd have to switch. Otherwise you'd probably end up running out. So they're kind of like, you might run this for a while or maybe once a week, every month or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not constantly.
That's the best way of doing it. In fact, there's, I talked about it. It's been a while now, but long ago, there was a device you stuck to your forehead, and it was meant to be used, I think, 3 or 4 nights. And then it had all the information it needed from that. It was not an every night kind of thing. So same thing applies here. You want to get a sense of that for a couple of nights in a row to see if there's a pattern. And then you can turn it off and keep using your device as usual. It doesn't have to be an every night thing. All right, let's see what's next. Google in celebration of, not really. So iOS 15 launched on Monday, which is Apple's next version of its operating system. And Google has released some updates for different apps that it publishes to the iOS App Store, including what are called XL widgets, extra large widgets, and some focus mode support. So extra large widgets are just a larger widget style that is available on iPad devices where you can sort of take up more of the screen with a nice widget. And YouTube in particular is one that is featured as one of those extra large widgets. And then Matthew Casanelli's favorite well, one of his favorite, I think, new features, certainly one of Rosemary Orchard's favorite new features, which is focus mode. What is Google doing that works with focus mode? Is it just a matter of being able to read someone's focus mode status and display that to other users?
I don't think they're doing that particular feature yet, but there's a whole new setting where just in a focus mode, notifications have to be able to be set to be relevant or like timely or not, and to be able to essentially break through. So like a good example is if your doorbell goes off, but you haven't set up in your focus mode to allow that particular type of notification, it can actually just break through already. And then it like gives you a little suggestion on the lock screen. It's like, do you want to continue allowing this to be part of this focus mode or not? So it can it's basically just a way so that you're not like you set up a focus mode and suddenly you miss every single Google notification forever because you just didn't set it up right. And let's talk about this more. If depending on how much time we have, we can maybe save it for another episode with the focus modes, because there's a lot of overhead in setting these up. Specifically like that is you just wouldn't really think about, I didn't put like Authy as a random example of like a 2-password or a extra 2-step authentication. I don't know, 2-factor, one of those. And if you didn't set that notification, you just like wouldn't ever get it. And so it has to be able to break through at the right time and stuff like that. So for Google stuff, especially like maps or reminders or their task stuff in Gmail, that's all incredibly important. So they have to update it on day one, because if you're somebody like me, you live inside focus modes now, but we can get to that another time. I have many, many thoughts about that. So,
all right, folks, let's take a quick break so I can tell you about Udacity, who are bringing you this episode of Smart Tech Today. Look, Udacity offers a unique part-time online education program that's geared for those who are looking to take their tech knowledge to the next level with specialized and exciting content. Udacity offers the latest cutting-edge nano-degree programs, many of which are not available anywhere else, such as AI, deep learning, flying car and autonomous flight engineer, intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, and robotics software engineer. To create the course content, Udacity partners with industry leaders such as Microsoft and Google and IBM and AWS and more, and selects team leads at top companies to be instructors. If you love learning and are always looking to know more new tech stuff, well, Udacity is for you. Udacity can help you master the latest tech skills and techniques. Courses are project-based with active learning that covers cutting-edge technology and lets you test your knowledge. Homework and projects are reviewed by qualified professionals, so you'll have real human feedback and reviews with access to mentors 24/7. And Udacity's flexible schedules mean you can put in just about 5 to 10 hours a week working at your own pace any time of the day or night, and you can graduate in as little as 3 months. The World Economic Forum estimates that 75 million jobs will be replaced by automated processes within the next 3 years. Udacity prepares its students for the jobs of the future. More than 14 million people in over 240 countries now use Udacity. You can check out their detailed course listings at udacity.com. Once you enroll as a student in a specific course offering, you'll be prompted to view the online course as well as complete a series of projects and support courses. They offer flexible payment options, and you can learn at your own pace and schedule. Udacity also has free courses. Does your team need to master cutting-edge technologies like data science, AI, and cybersecurity? Well, with Udacity for Enterprise, you can upskill your entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. Be sure to check out the Enterprise section of Udacity's website today. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with code TWIT75. That is a limited time offer. That's udacity.com/twit and enter TWIT75. Thanks so much to Udacity for sponsoring this week's episode of Smart Tech Today. Let's talk about Amazon. Up first, if you have been hoping to get your kid to read and you want to go the way of the digital book, well, you'll be happy to hear that Amazon has announced its first Kindle Paperwhite for kids. Yes, a Kindle for the kids.
For some reason, I was expecting some grand pun off of that, like Kindles for the kiddies, I guess.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's basically just the better version of the Kindle it's like the Paperwhite instead of the Kindle Kid one that is just the worse quality material overall. I like the reading experience. And it comes with a subscription to the Amazon Kids service too. And it's kind of just like one of those bundles that, and it has a cover. So it's kind of one of those bundles that's just like, we might as well put this all together so that you can just sign up in one go versus like trying to sell them on just the Kindle and then the service and then the cover all together. But I think it makes sense too. And it's got a 2-year warranty that the article talks about how it's like, it's got the normal consumer warranty, but it technically says on the page, like, if it breaks, we'll fix it sort of thing. So it's supposed to be designed for like your kid to be able to throw around a little bit. And like the drop in the bathtub was their example. So I thought it was just a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. I remember as a kid getting a Kindle. I asked for one for Christmas. Like as soon as it was announced, I was like, well, there's my Christmas gift. And it was one of those, because we did not have a lot of money growing up at all. And so this was one of those sort of moonshot desires. And so I just started to sort of lay a foundation talking about how much I wanted to get a Kindle. And lo and behold, Christmas rolled around and there was a Kindle underneath the tree for me. And it was like, to this day, probably one of the best gifts I've ever been given. I use that thing so much for not only actual, Kindle books, but also for PDFs and articles. It was kind of my RSS reader as well. I had it all set up with everything. And I think that there's something to be said for a purpose-built tool like this. In fact, I've got my Kindle sitting next to me because this morning I was reading a book, and it's just like this device that keeps you free from distractions. You don't have to have focus modes on it. And same goes for kids who maybe have those distractions where this keeps them from using this for anything else. So it's like, hey, exactly. In fact, the page says it's reading time, not screen time. That is what it's for. It's for reading. So your kid can have a bunch of different books if they want to, but with it, they are focused on reading in particular. And then you wanted to talk about the rest of the Kindle Paperwhite lineup, as that has all gotten an update. Amazon announced some new Kindles with USB-C. What up?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I feel like such a sucker too, because I just bought my first Kindle ever, and it's now like one of the only micro USB products. And it's like to the point where, I mean, maybe next summer, if these go on sale with Amazon Prime Day or whatever day that actually is, I feel like it changes every year. They just declare it, but I might want to switch it out just to live fully in that world, because that is pretty nice. But it's even
I had to go
spelunking
for the charger for my Kindle whenever, because I've talked before about how most of the reading I do is via Audible audiobooks. And there's a series that I have listened to for a long time now. And I've got a few kind of epic fantasy series that sort of sit in the background, in the sense that they are like I get through them and then I'm waiting for the next book to come out. And in the meantime, I'll listen to other audiobooks and then I'll look up the author to see if the latest the latest book is out, published to Audible. And so I typed in the author and I looked it up, and it said, oh yeah, that'll be out in like the end of, or the middle of next year, I think. And occasionally the author will release the book version first before the audiobook version, which comes out later. And in this case, that was the case. And so I was like, well, this is one of those series where it's enough of interest to me that it sort of can get past my normal inability to sit still for a long period of time and read a book. And so I had to pull out the Kindle, which had the battery screen on it going, please charge me. So I found a micro USB cable and plugged it in. But yeah, it would be nice to have a USB-C. It's just I don't use these enough. The good thing is Amazon has a trade-in program for Kindles, and oftentimes you can make you can trade it in and get. It's not a whole lot of money usually, but you can get some money back on the Kindle. I've got somewhere around here the Kindle that I did get as a kid. Twice now I've had to replace the battery because the battery has just gone kaput. And iFixit sells the replacement battery. And that one I just keep around because of nostalgia. And also I kind of like how it feels in the hand. It's got physical buttons, and then it also has that keyboard on it, which I used to use to take notes or type notes on to annotate books and articles and stuff. So yeah, that one's still hanging around with its case. The one I have these days doesn't have a case. I don't even know what model this Kindle is.
I got the little book thing. Actually, here, let me grab it. It's the little case that makes it look like it's in a book, and then you can.
Oh, that's cute.
Unzip the outside. Kathy Campbell recommended this to me, and then it has a little prop up thing, which is nice. So I definitely noticed that one of the things with the Kindle was like, even though it's fine to hold it, a lot of times you do just want to kind of like rest it there or like just barely prop it up on something. So it's kind of a nice combo. And when it's zipped up, it powers it off. So I don't even actually think about ever.
It does? It powers. How does it do that?
I think it's just a magnet. It's like, pretty sure it does. I'm almost positive it does. Now I'm like second guessing myself, but
I mean, at the very least, it has a sleep timer, so it'll, lock the screen after a while. But that's the good thing about a Kindle is that as long as it's staying on the same screen, it's not using battery power, unless you have it connected to Wi-Fi, in which case
it does do it.
It is.
Wakes your Kindle when open and puts it to sleep when closed.
That's very cool.
So very much like the iPad cover. I feel like the ultimate test of whether or not I'm going to get this next one is going to be this iPad mini that's coming out and how that fits into my reading lifestyle. But I think already, again, same thing. The price of the Kindle versus the price of the iPad mini already like makes a big difference. And so it's mostly like that ecosystem and everything. I just want to work across both. Where's movies anywhere? Where's books anywhere? I guess that's kind of the antithesis of Amazon's business model. So
who is the Kindle Oasis for? I still can't figure that out.
Probably me. I almost bought it. I was like getting close. I was like, ooh, do I want the really nice one though? Like if it makes you use it more, it's probably worth it if you like books. So
yeah, but what does it do?
It's
different.
It's a nicer experience. I think Jason Snell was talking about how he likes the hardware controls to change pages because it's less just swiping on their terrible little screen. And I just
don't like the feel, the like sort of weird square, I think is my problem with it.
Yeah, totally fair.
Ooh, wireless charging on the new Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Nice.
Ew, with ads? No thanks.
I mean, you can just pay for it. I think I bought the one with ads and then paid to get rid of it. It's the exact same thing. But mine was like on Amazon Prime instead of not. And so I was like, I guess I'll do that.
32 gigabytes of storage, wireless charging, and auto-adjusting front lights.
I didn't even get the storage was the other thing. I was like, should I get that? And it's like, if you have 1,000 books, maybe. Or like PDFs and stuff, but otherwise it's just text. So
the name of the Kindle I have is the Kindle Voyage, which I bought back in 2015. That's what this one is right here. I bought it back in 2015. Oh yeah, the back of it. It has. I'm trying to see what it has in terms of its internal storage. Like I've never had an issue with it. So you just download them whenever you want them and the rest of them go away. Interestingly, the Pixels per inch have not, or the points per inch, I guess, in case of digital ink, have not changed over time. It's stayed at 300. So I guess that's
even
just
though it got bigger.
Yeah, I guess
that
that's
is a little
kind
weird.
of the best screen technology.
4 gigabytes.
Oh,
that's fair.
Only
I guess
4 gigabytes.
That's print is what it is. It's 300 ppi. So
yeah, exactly. It totally makes sense. It's just in all that time, nothing has changed there. But I guess that's just because that's what works best. So yeah, 4 gigabytes compared to now where they're saying, hey, you've got 32 gigabytes. I would never need to have 32 gigabytes. I wonder why they've made the auto adjusting light a premium feature, because this Oasis, unless this was the premium Kindle at the time, the Oasis has an auto adjusting front light, which I quite like when I'm reading at night for the light to kind of dim after a while. The back of it is made of magnesium, but it's got this like soft touch coating on the magnesium. And then of course the top there is translucent because Wi-Fi is not going to go through magnesium. But yeah, I don't know. I might have to eyeball one of these newer Kindle Paperwhite Signature Edition. I like that wireless charging option. That's kind of nice. Oh, you got to buy a special dock for it?
Yeah, no, it's not MagSafe or something.
Well, I do like that the back of it is kind of flush, whereas the one that I have now is not very. And then IPX8 waterproofity is nice.
All these pictures are of the users next to a lake. In case
They're like, it is waterproof. You must know.
To be fair, the place that I've used my Kindle the most was next to a lake. So it was like when I went on vacation a couple of weeks ago and I read for like 4 hours straight in the morning every day. So pretty accurate representation. I'm not gonna lie.
Cases are rather pricey at $40. There'll probably be third-party cases soon. All right. That's enough Kindle advertisement. Let's move on to talk about this is an upcoming event on September 28th. Tuesday. Amazon is set to have an Echo event Echo and Ring event. It's a smart home event is probably the best way to put it. When Amazon will unveil the latest Echo and Ring devices. Is that Ring drone even available to? Okay. In fact, CNET notes like, in the thing. Yeah, it could finally give a release date for that strange drone because that still hasn't happened.
Well, I've been eagerly anticipating mine to scare my girlfriend and ruin the sanctity of my household. I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, but that'll be interesting. So yeah, it'll be fun to talk about next week.
That reminds me that I just got a notification, an email this morning letting me know that the smart printer I backed as the day one edition is going to be shipping soon.
Nice. The little laser printer thing?
Yeah, that little smart sticky note printer.
That's awesome. See if
I can get a link over into the show notes here. And there we go. So for people who haven't been staying or keeping up, a while back, Amazon announced a bunch of different what they call day one editions concepts. And essentially it's like Kickstarter, but for Amazon. They had some ideas for different products, and then people could say, yes, I want that. Yes, I want that. No, I don't. And if they got enough, yes, I want that's, then they would turn it into a real product. Of the products that they showed off at the time, the smart sticky note printer, I believe, was the only one that ended up becoming a product that shipped. I can't remember what all else they had. They had like a smart scale and a
cuckoo clock.
Yeah, cuckoo clock. And those did not kick off. I thought for sure the smart scale would, but the sticky note printer was the only one that did. And so I did get a notification this morning saying, all right, that is going to be shipping soon. And so Let me see if I have an estimated delivery date, because I don't know if I did get one for that.
Yeah, that is surprising that the scale didn't work, because that actually looked pretty good with like pairing the nutrition information with what you're weighing on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually want to do that. I used like LiveSum to do something similar. I guess that's kind of just like, do you want to pay $200 for that? It's probably the case.
Your orders are estimated to start shipping within approximately 30 days. So 30 days. So in about a month, the end of October, I'll have a spooky sticky note printer. And I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
All right. Let us see. What is next?
That status announcement thing that Amazon...
yeah. So Amazon, we both are, I believe, both subscribers to Amazon sort of developer notifications, where they talk about new tools and APIs and magic that developers can take advantage of. There was one that I got a notification for, an email again for, and this one was about proactive notifications. So if you are a third-party device manufacturer who makes devices that work with ALEXA, then you can use ALEXA to communicate with your customers. So let's approach this from the consumer side of things. I buy a smart robot that works with ALEXA, and it is going around, maybe I set a schedule for it. So 9 a.m. every day, go around and run the vacuum. Well, I'm upstairs in my office and it's downstairs running the vacuum, and it gets stuck on a carpet. Instead of getting a notification on my phone that says, "Hey, I'm stuck, save me," you could hear ALEXA pop up and say, "Hey, your vacuum is stuck. You might want to go check on that." And then the same thing applies to other different smart home devices. So ALEXA can essentially be able to give you notifications saying this isn't working, or this is working, or your smart oven is done cooking your food, that kind of thing.
Yep, pretty much. And
that's all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, you nailed it. So your robotic vacuum is stuck. It's like,
no,
don't worry. We dodged the poop. That would be a good one, actually, now that they have the Roomba features. So it's like secondary warning. Hey, there's poop over. Actually, like, they should do that.
Yeah, that would be good. All right. It is time to move on to the grab bag section. And my sheets are reloading, so I can't see what's in the grab bag section. So you will have to
I'm
tell me.
Very curious about this story, because Home Assistant has their own version of basically Hoobs. Like it's for Home Assistant, but it's a single box that you can buy. The Amber Hub is what it's called, to set up Home Assistant. There's some interesting details where it doesn't include Wi-Fi at all, because they're like, you have to wire it if you want your home network to rely on a hub like this. It has to be wired, and so that's a pretty powerful way to make that happen. Is just don't even include wireless at all. You have to plug it in with Ethernet, but you can also like add on different little bits and do hickeys as you please. I'm not going to lie. This is above what I would end up doing totally. Like I was the sucker who bought the Hoobs thing, I guess. But now you can get a fancier nerd version of it for the same price. Would you get something like this? I feel like you should almost, just to test out Home Assistant and for the sake of the show. You know?
Yeah. So, well, okay. So I think that this is of interest to a lot of folks. So there's a Home Assistant recently released a macOS app and an iOS app and a few other apps so that you can actually make use of Home Assistant elsewhere. I've used Home Assistant in the past, and it's pretty good, but again, the problem with these other means of control is that it is kind of disparate technologies all coming together to control these different devices. And you are relying on a community of users or developers. And I'm not skilled enough to read through the code and understand what is and isn't going on. And so what ended up happening for me was that I didn't feel I had a level of trust that I needed to feel comfortable using all these different tools to run my smart home, because as it stands, I don't use any of the home bridge stuff connected to cameras for that reason. I don't know if the camera is actually, if there is some way for a developer that made this plugin to be able to, to get connection with me, because I don't have that knowledge base that's required to understand that. So with this, it falls into, there's a lot of trust that's involved, and I don't like having that sort of weighing over my head, sort of spinning cognitive cycles on that. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I definitely think, it's absolutely worth mentioning here, because we've been hearing more and more from people listening to the show. They're like, what about Home Assistant? Because it is so great. And especially if you are working across platforms and just want, I think like the just historical data and things like that are things that can get super interesting. I think there is like a lot of potential value with HomeKit, or not HomeKit, with just smart homes that does, if you want to get to that, it's like the 80-20 rule. If you want to take advantage of that last 20% of what's available, you're going to have to put in like 80% more effort just to get all that out. And so this is great if you want that. And especially now, I guess if you're already in that setup, maybe you're more likely to get this. So this could bridge the gap a little bit from people who what's your bet that Rosemary gets this?
Right.
I feel like it's in her future. So that's exactly like the kind of person. So
yeah, good to know, absolutely. There is someone out there for whom this product is necessary, as well as I wouldn't be surprised if we see Stacey Higginbotham make use of this technology.
That's a great example.
And like I said, I'm willing to revisit Home Assistant, because I know a lot of our listeners really like Home Assistant. It's just, for me, I like a mostly hands-off approach to my smart home. And with that, HomeKit does enough as it is. All right, this next one is really exciting. This is a technology that is kind of hard to find in some cases, but Ikea has come out with a wireless charger you can stick under your desk for $40, and it will let you charge your your Qi devices. All you got to do, stick this thing underneath the desk. Of course, there's a certain thickness that is required. And
did you notice that at the end of the article? The specific limitations are outrule anything that IKEA makes. Like, what?
Wait,
you can't put this on the underside of an IKEA desk.
Okay, that is a little shocking to me, because most of them are filled with like garbage inside. I don't know if you've ever seen the take apart IKEA desks, but it's like sawdust. Yeah, exactly. The filling that's inside, you would think that they would be able to pass a charge through this. So yeah, I guess it's a lot of it.
Maybe some of theirs too. Okay, actually, I missed that a lot part. That's more important. Not everything, but like their office furniture stuff specifically. So make sure you measure before you buy these. Is the biggest concern. Yeah, and
I
as noted,
the idea of. Go ahead.
It just needs to be powered and everything. Like they're like, it's wireless charging, but you obviously need to plug in the cord and everything too. So
yeah, I do like the idea of having any desk or surface being turned into a wireless charger that is, that follows all of the guidelines. But I just don't think we're quite there yet in terms of the technology. I think that we've got some ways to go where the technology can be more directed, and by being more directed and with the right chips built in, then they can be stronger and be power efficient and heat efficient, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, this is one of those let's hold off kind of things. But if you don't want to hold off, you can check out Ikea's option. $40 is a pretty good price for this. As I said, we've seen some other ones out there. I think
we talked about it at one point of somebody who drilled, like Quinn Nelson on YouTube, drilled a hole in his desk and then put a charger up in there. And I was like, I want to do that. But that's also pretty destructive. And so if you could just buy one and slap it on, I'm good with that.
Yes. All right. Up next, we've got some Apple news to talk about in just a moment. All right. Let's talk about the Apple news. Matthew Casanelli, why don't you kick us off here?
Sure. I wanted to cover just some of the HomeKit and HomePod stuff that is coming, or I guess is now here in iOS 15 and HomeOS 15. I don't know if they label it like that. A lot of this we have covered too, so I just want to reiterate it now that it's actually available. But being able to ask Siri to do something later, like turn off the lights in 10 minutes or at 7 p.m. tonight, which is pretty nice. That's actually just like key feature of smart assistants. I always love features that you are like, did we not already have this? Oh, well, great. Now we have it. HomeKit Secure Video has package detection. So you can actually say like, oh, your package is here, which I wish I had that right now because that is still psyching me out about getting my stuff delivered. Like an iPad mini just sitting on your doorstep is not exactly a fun, just like, I'm going to be anxious tomorrow. But you can also use the HomePod mini for Apple TV speakers. So I guess you can just use one. I don't know why you would. I almost just recommend please don't do that. Please get at least two if you're going to do that. But yeah, that does give you stereo, which is pretty awesome too. And it can be the default.
Having them
speaker,
behind you, that's
nice.
Interesting. If your television is across the room, because that's one of the things that you got to have it turned up higher because it's across the room. So if they were behind you and you're watching
CNET photo,
it might be quite nice.
It's just like on either side. I wonder with the center channel how that'd work, of just like projecting it forward versus the opposite direction. Other just like niceties is when you're playing something from the HomePod mini, it will just show up on your phone lock screen automatically and stuff like that. So I think it does from the iPad too. I got to double check that, but that's just like nice. If something is playing on your smart speakers and it's connected to your phone, or you're on the same network as your phone, it'll like automatically understand, oh, something's playing over there. You can just pause it without having to fiddle and switch sources. And then the one that is honestly very killer is you can reduce the bass on the HomePod. And I honestly, please don't do this on the HomePod mini unless for some reason you're using too much bass, which I don't think is, in my personal opinion, is not possible because it doesn't even have enough. But the main HomePod on a desk just is so thumpy. Obviously this product is discontinued, but some people still have them. But this actually really improved the experience with it. It's not, mostly just psyched me out that everybody in my house could hear it. And now I don't feel like that. So that's really nice. And then controlling the Apple TV with Siri is really good. Just saying like play and pause, basic stuff. I had some shortcuts for this kind of thing. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I could do it before, but now I don't have to distribute those shortcuts. Siri's coming to more places soon. We haven't seen anything like that. And then the home keys thing is coming too. The one that I really want to test, and I haven't really figured out how, but supposedly Siri will adjust its speaking level based on the room environment and volume of the user. And so this was a big thing I've had for 2 years of automations that turn down my HomePod at night and turn it back up in the morning, because it would just scream at you in the middle of the night if you happen to listen to music loud earlier in the day and then you talk to it later. So it should be quieter. I don't know if it'll actually whisper. I don't think so, but at least it won't just be like way too loud. So that's like I was like, oh, thank God. And then the last thing is SharePlay is coming this fall. So that'll let people like watch something on their TV and then talk about it together and stuff like that on their phone with FaceTime. So that's going to be super interesting, but I'm still curious how popular it's actually going to be because you have to be on FaceTime. So we'll see.
Yeah, I am curious to hear how that goes. Now, interestingly, you might have thought that there weren't really any HomeKit updates with the next version of iOS, and with Apple continuing to roll these things out. But it turns out there are some things, and The Verge has listed off 8 features that are coming to this.
Yeah. So basically, one of the first ones, I mean, some of it is similar. The HomePod Mini, Apple TV, being able to control it, those different packages. The one that I did mention is multiple HomeKit cameras on your Apple TV. So if you have a lot, you can call them all up there. Then they also, I'm trying to remember how this works with the family plan thing, but you can have unlimited HomeKit secure video cameras, which previously you could only have 5. So that was always like, if you had more, you were just kind of out of luck. But I have like the Premier thing. And so I think in general, that just gives you a lot more storage. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. I guess, the other one is the Home app got redesigned on the Apple Watch. So that is actually a good amount nicer. And you can just kind of see the most relevant things and like status updates in the intercom without it just being large chunky tiles that you have to scroll through. So pretty nice. Another story that in general we were talking about in previous weeks is just that Siri also works on device. So this is a nice feature that just if you were like low connectivity or anything like that, you wouldn't be able to do basic Siri commands. And so just as a reiteration from earlier this summer, all the stuff that is supported with Siri offline is timers and alarms, the phone, messaging, sharing, app launches, controlling audio playback, and different settings. So all that you should now be able to just tell Siri anytime you have like airplane mode on, or just my example is taking the train into San Francisco and I'm underwater, and you can still like pause your music and stuff like that if you need to. I tried shortcuts a little bit, and I don't think it does the interpretation, because I wish it would preload the names of my shortcuts so that I could actually speak those, because in theory, all the other Siri stuff is like known quantities, and shortcuts is a little bit more unknown, but
right.
Also a nice feature of iOS 15.
I was going to say, I noticed that, first talk about using Siri with showing whatever is on your screen, because that is a new thing before we talk about the head tracking.
Sure. I feel like I almost like forgot that. I don't think I saw any headline about this, but the reason that I know that this is a feature is because it's added to shortcuts now too. But one of the things that you can do is say, just like share this with Micah, and it'll say, okay, here, it'll show you what you're looking at as a little popover, like the little article thing. And then in a little menu or in a little message preview, and then you can just hit send, which is pretty nice. But in shortcuts, there's now a feature that's called get on-screen content. And this works kind of similar even to like the share sheets if you were activating that, but instead of going in to share it, you can just use this at the top of your shortcut, and it'll work with the new shortcuts input interface too. So that if you're looking at an article and you run a shortcut that, for example, would just like take the article and download the main image or something like that, it can just tell that you're looking at an article and pass that in, which is pretty awesome. And so this just makes Siri shortcuts a lot more Siri based if you're actually using an app. And I have a shortcut that I made too that I think it's just called check what's here. And this was my strategy for going through various apps and just running the shortcut and seeing, does this provide anything to Siri at this point? But now that I realize it probably wasn't working because it was all in beta. So I should run that again, because I'm really curious about deep links into apps. Like if I'm in a specific view, can I grab a deep link to that view? Like that is very much I don't want to say that is my stuff. I'll say that's my place to play, because that kind of deep linking thing is what the origins of workflow always were. And getting to the right place exactly at the right time is what shortcuts is all about. So I'm very excited for this kind of update too.
And then the next one is about dynamic head tracking on AirPods Pro, whether you want that to be turned on or off, because some people are not into that. What I like about what I noticed about iOS 15 that I didn't originally have is that there are some different settings for even audio you have that doesn't have spatial audio by default. You can spatialize the audio, but they've taken it even further where you can do head tracking or have head tracking turned off and still maintain spatialized audio. It's all there's a lot of different stuff that's involved, and the is it a Gear Patrol article? Yeah, the Gear Patrol article walks you through kind of what to do to disable it or enable it, because some people are not going to like it for sure.
Yeah. And it's also just like kind of buried. So you have to go into the AirPods. I think even now, I'm trying to remember because I saw it while I was using it, but I think if you go into the spatial or into the control center area and you switch from spatial audio, it can also turn off head tracking there. And you can do it for just music or video too. So I feel like in my memory, maybe I'm misremembering. I can double check while we're in the next ad break, but I thought you could do it by app also, which would be really nice. But I think that's actually, maybe I'm misremembering that with some accessibility settings, which you can do by app now, which is also just a great feature. But I think the biggest thing is like a lot of people don't like, even though the spatial audio like effect is really cool with music, the head tracking thing is pretty weird when you're walking outdoors. Like if you turn a corner, it like thinks you're over there, and then it slowly does the thing where it moves the sound field back. Or like I was saying, I'll like be watching a movie that's over on my iPad while I'm working on my computer, and it like thinks I'm facing the wrong way. Or like I do notice I do a good amount of pausing and unpausing, which basically recenters your spatial audio towards, if you're using a Mac that doesn't, like I use a Mac Mini with a monitor. And so it's basically just guessing like where I'm looking. They're like, that's probably straight. And then if I like start it and then turned back to the screen, all the sound would be shifted. And so I use that spatialized stereo thing for any movies that I watch, and it actually is really nice. Like I am a huge fan of this feature, but I'll have to test the dynamic head tracking and whether or not I want that. It's like, and turning it off for music kind of like messed with my head, because it does just match, like the sound field is static, and then as you move around your head, that sound is still staying there, but the way you hear it is based on where your head is facing, versus if it's always around you and you're turning, it's the whole sound field is moving with you. And that just is like confusing. Especially, I always think of spatial audio as if you were performing the music and then that's how you hear it around you, versus it's like you were like in the music. And so if it's moving with you, it's like the whole world is moving around you. I don't know. So if you have any issue with this, you can now change it.
Yep. And then last but not least, for folks who are hoping that the first version of HomePod 15 and for both the HomePod and the HomePod Mini was going to have Dolby Atmos and lossless audio support, they were disappointed whenever it did not have that functionality. Good news, though, is that it does return in the 15.1 beta. So for developers who have access to that beta, they have been able to turn that on. And so those of us who are eagerly awaiting the 15.1 beta that will enable SharePlay likely, and also this feature, we'll be able to use it at that point. So for now, even whenever you upgrade to the latest version of HomePod OS, you likely won't have access to this feature, you will not have access to this feature, but worry not, because it will be coming soon.
Yeah.
All right. Let us move on to talk about our picks of the week. Our picks of the week are up next. All right, Matthew Casanelli, tell me about your pick of the week.
I feel like this was the least surprising pick of the week ever, because I'm super excited about it. But the iPad Mini, I have pre-ordered one. It's coming tomorrow. I went for $256, which I feel like is going to be just about right, because I think I use more of that on my main iPad, but I also don't know how much I'm going to actually put movies offline on this because it is so small that like I probably will, if I actually want to watch in a place where I'm going to need to store it offline, I'm probably still going to have my main iPad anyways. So I'm going to mostly think of this as a Kindle potential replacement and sort of that little just a daily driver for Twitter and things like that. And then especially shortcuts I'm very interested in because I always carry around like an iPad, or I try to put a phone up on a little mount and things and watch videos and run shortcuts. And it either the phone needs to have some sort of mount or the iPad is just a little bit too big. And so just an iPad mini. I have the old iPad mini from years and years ago, and it's so little and it's going to just fit perfectly. I feel like it's going to be actually really, really nice for both running and making basic shortcuts, like not if you're going to type a lot in the process, but still, I'm pretty excited about it. And so I feel like I will review this in a little bit more next week, along with some of I was teasing with the focus mode stuff because I have so many ideas. And I feel like all over Twitter, nobody seems to get it. Not that they don't get it. It's just, it does take a lot of effort. And so I have many, many ideas that I'm excited to share with people. And plus, I'm going to put my whole shortcuts catalog out too. So there's going to be so much next week.
Yeah. Focus modes for many people, including myself, as I've talked about, are it's just the activation energy required to get them set up. I just have
I would say,
but interested in doing.
When I saw you say that specifically, my first thought was just don't do that. Just set it up, skip the menus that they give you. Give it whatever name, just work. Or I figured you could have recording or like at your desk at Twit. I guess you're not really there right now, but those are just like different contexts in the same place. But yeah, I think I have like 20 of them. I don't think I've set up any of the people or the apps that need to be notified. I just use it for the home screens. So,
right.
And it's just like, I don't need to hear from most people. So I just don't, it is actually helping. It's like, I would just get notifications all the time. So
I also don't have a whole lot of context switching. So do not disturb works just fine for me. When I'm working, I have do not disturb turned on. And when I'm not, I don't. And sleep mode, which turns on automatically. So
I have like a personal home screen, work home screen. And then it's like this podcast. I do a newsletter. So I have a home screen for that. And when I make YouTube videos, it's different. So I'll have maybe it is.
I guess I'm just not enough of a content creator. That's the problem.
No, I think you could do. That's why I think like live, you probably have a different set of stuff versus not live while you're working. And then just like personal for like personal life or travel is a good one. Like your phone home screen changes while you're out and about. So wait for the video. I'll drop
my
everything.
Hiking home screen.
Yeah, seriously.
All right,
I'm
folks.
all about it.
My next pick, or my pick of the week this week is, God, it's the most gorgeous little thing. I hate to also be choosing an Apple product, but I have to because Apple, I'm so glad I waited on getting the MagSafe wallet because Apple released a new version that supports some new functionality for the Find My network, so that when it detaches from your phone, at that point it will drop a pin essentially in Maps, through the Find My network, so that you can find the last place that your wallet was. And now they have the most gorgeous green. It's really hard to see in the photo. It does not look how it does look in person. I saw this green wallet and I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. I love this thing. So it's a perfect match with this is the part that I'm a little bit annoyed that I did this. I got the green case too, Sequoia green. And what I should have done was gotten like the light brown leather case. But now it's going to be green on green. Regardless, the reason why this is, to click on that first one, golden brown, and they have a case that's golden brown too. So that would look really good with this green, the Sequoia green iPhone leather wallet. Anyway, the reason why it's a Smart Tech Today pick, though, is because of that Find My functionality. So if this becomes detached, then it will let me know and I can go and find it again should that happen.
Isn't the other part that if somebody else puts it on their phone, it'll tell you that this is Micah's wallet? Yeah, I think I saw.
Yeah, because it's part of the Find My functionality that's built in, which is very nice. So, what I think is, I've lost my. So I've been using, sort of covertly, a wallet case for my iPhone. I say covertly because anytime I see somebody with a wallet case, it's typically someone who is from a different, earlier generation than I am. Before me, generation before me. And so there's a certain level of like, does this make me an old man to be using a wallet case, like the kind that folds over the folio wallet case? And so what I do is I keep my phone in the case, except it's only whenever I take it out of the case. Basically, I pop it in and out. This isn't the case. This is my other case, but I pop it in and out of that wallet case so that when I'm out and about on those occasions when I am, I'm not carrying around this huge honking folio case. So through that, though, it has limited the cards that I carry with me in a good way, because now I just have like 3 cards, I think. And so now I can just put these onto my actual iPhone and just carry around my iPhone with this on the back, and it works just fine. So I'm really excited. Tomorrow I'll be popping this on my iPhone, assuming that it gets delivered as it should be. These are pretty expensive at $59 for this leather wallet. Pairs well with the leather case that I have, an iPhone 13 Pro Max leather case, also unfortunately in Sequoia green, so that's a little silly, but
I've got mine here too. Got the green one also.
Nice. So looking forward to that. All right, folks, this brings us to the end of this episode of Smart Tech Today. If you have questions you'd like to send our way, I've seen a few popping in, so we'll probably do another question episode soon. That's stt@twit.tv. We record the show live every Thursday at 4:30 p.m., usually 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Today it was 2 p.m. as I needed to eat something really badly. But the best way to get the show is by subscribing to the show so that, even if it is at 2 or 1:30 or 1:45, it'll get to you as soon as it is available. You just go to twit.tv/STT and click to subscribe to audio or video across any of the different services that you might use. So you can find the provider, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., and get the show there. By the way, if you'd like to get all of our shows ad-free, well, you should check out Club Twit. For $7 a month, you will get access to every Twit show with no ads. You'll also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has content you won't find anywhere else, and the members-only Discord server. That's a great place to go to converse with all of your favorite Twit people and all of your fellow Club Twit members. It's an awesome place to hang out. Lots of GIFs get shared there. You just go to twit.tv/clubtwit, and once again, $7 a month. You'll be supporting us directly, and I think it's a pretty doggone good deal. Matthew Castanelli, if folks want to follow you online and check out the great work that you're doing, where should they go to do that, especially with what you've got coming up?
Yeah, I was going to say, I pushed it back a week, but MatthewCastanelli.com/series shortcuts. I'm not going to say a specific day since I've learned better than that. But next week, I'm going to be re-releasing my shortcuts catalog. Got actions for iOS 15 and everything, and some secret stuff in store. So tune in next week and I'll let you all know all about it.
Awesome. You can find me at Micah Sargent on many a social media network, or head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode, and we will see you next time on Smart Tech Today. Goodbye.
Bye.
Have you ever read a tech news story and thought to yourself, man, I would love to talk to the person who wrote this to find out more information? Well, that's exactly what Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, do each and every week on Tech News Weekly. We read the stories that matter to us, we reach out to the people making a break in the tech news, and we invite them on to tell their story. And you can find it at twit.tv. Look for Tech News Weekly every Thursday.